Hi, I'm Sam Smethurst from Middlesbrough College, and I'm here to welcome you to this short bite-sized video about the skills within the ESP and the core knowledge. Today we'll look at how the skills within ESP can be drew upon from the knowledge within the core content. Here you can see that when responding to the core project, students need to draw on the knowledge and understanding from across the core content in a synoptic manner. This is in order to effectively respond to a brief within a vocational context. The project outcomes will consist of a portfolio of evidence submitted electronically. Therefore, students will undertake a project in response to a real-life contextual challenge. The project will consist of planning documentation, annotated digital portfolio, a prototype digital product, testing evidence, and then finally an evaluation. The objectives are covered over 4 tasks, 1 to 4B. Looking at the tasks, we can see how the objectives are covered by the students. The skills covered over the ESP can be drew upon from the core content knowledge. Each of the objectives and the skills covered can be developed through this core knowledge and can be embedded throughout all your lessons. We can look at that core content in more detail and delve into those topics covered across referencing them to planning. 3 emerging issues and impact of digital. For example, ethical and moral issues that an increasing reliance on technology raises and how organisations and individuals can respond to these challenges, the collection and use of data on unequal access to technology, and on digital services. Number 5, business context. For example, understand how digital supports the business needs of an organisation, understand the factors that determine the feasibility of a digital project, understand the potential risks to organisations of use of digital systems and technologies. Further on, data. For example, understand why organisations need data and information, how they're used, the purpose of business and information tools. And then lastly, number 7, digital environments. The benefits and drawbacks of software, hardware, peripherals in different contexts. The need to ensure digital environments are resilient. The impact on organisations and stakeholders if this is not achieved. All of these from the core element help plan an approach to develop solutions. If we look at number 2, we can look at the core content in more detail and delve into the topics covered and cross-reference them from our planning. So activity 2 and 4A are looking at the application. They're looking at how they can apply knowledge and skills to develop software, create an artifact, fix defects, and mitigate risks to security. So they've got to look at a test plan, apply a solution to fix defects, and develop the solution. So if we look at the core content here, 1, problem solving, that allows them to decompose problems, use abstraction to identify information that is needed. Core content 2, introduction to programming, pretty much all of it really, but to pull some examples, understand the use of and need for data, declare and use constant variables, write, interpret, debug code, the need for different types of input validation, and understand the use of testing. Further on, there's the same within business context and data. These core aspects will support the students within task 2 and task 4A, looking at their objectives. If we look at the objective 3, selecting relevant techniques and resources, this is covered in task 2 again, task 3, the design of the solution, and then the development. Looking at the requirements, algorithms, flowcharts, the developments, their programming, their test plan. Pretty much all of the core element cover aspects within this. So if we look at problem solving, can they determine the correct output of an algorithm? It's covered in that aspect. Write algorithms, express an algorithm using flowcharts and pseudocode. These are all examples within the spec for problem solving. Again, programming, it's covered all. But to be more specific, be able to and select and justify the use of pre-written code provided by Python programming language. Be able to write code that makes use of user-written and pre-written code. Be able to write, interpret, and debug code that makes use of sequencing. If we look at data, this will support them to understand the forms of data that it can take and the implications this has on its use. So in core elements 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, they will all support the objective 3, selecting relevant techniques and resources, and support task 2, task 3, and task 4A, embedding those skills. Objective 4, we are looking at the maths, English, and digital skills. Now, all of the core element links to this. The maths and English and digital skills are used throughout all tasks within the Employer Set project and link to all the core content. The core content aspects link to technical and non-technical audience, how to communicate the information across, allowing the students to understand this process when it comes to the Employer Set project. Digital skills, again, these are developed throughout, looking at how to respond. The major aspect is in with the programming, the problem solving core content. However, 1 to 8 within the core element looks at maths, English, and digital skills. And then lastly, we've got objective 5, project outcomes and the review. Again, we can look at the core content, programming, emerging issues, legislation, and business context really support these tasks 4A and 4B within the ESP. If we look at the programming, we can look at apply root cause analysis to solve problems, use the 5 whys. You can understand how accepted style conventions and how these are implemented, be able to write code, make the use of user written and pre-written code, look at emerging issues and the impact, understand how organizations and individuals respond to ethical and moral issues when designing and developing a digital systems. This is covered in number 3, emerging issues and impact of digital, and really will support the development of the solution and the evaluation. We look at number 5, business context. In the evaluation, good understanding across how digital supports the business needs of organisation, the factors that determine the feasibility of a digital project, understand how digital is used to meet user needs and ensure quality of product services. That's just a few examples from the spec that link to the Employer Set project and the tasks required for this objective. So if we look, as discussed, across the set project assessment objectives and the tasks that are required in the Employer Set project, there is a development of the key skills in these core elements, thus allowing students to develop skills, their knowledge and understanding across the assessments. It isn't just to set out within your Employer Set project lessons. They are in the core element and really will embed and enhance your users and your students' understanding. I hope that helps. Thank you.